We would like to place a trigger warning before the start of this episode as it contains conversations about sexual assault. If you or anyone you know has been affected by this, please visit rapecrisis.org.uk. Hi guys, welcome to Alt London Podcast. We're back again, but yeah, we're just
again.
I don't know why I said but yeah, we're back. So yeah, it's Sophia, and then obviously we've also got Charlie. Oh, I said that I would do a singing one. Wait, it's Afia. No, Afia.
No. I'm actually hurt you done that. No, I'm actually so hurt because my name.
What did you want to do it? Oh yeah. Wait.
Charlene.
Yeah, Charlie.
No, you need a free.
You have your own song though. What's the song that you thought that they were saying your name in?
Charlene.
Oh yeah,
Charlene.
No. There's another one.
I thought there's a bashment one. What's it? Was it? Oh gosh, Murder She Wrote. Murder She Wrote. Wait, there's a bit where he goes. Wait, pretty face and bad character. Oh, no, wait. What song is it? There's a bit where they say Charlene. Also in the Britney Spears one, Charlene. She thinks she bad. Fine enough to blow.
Oh yeah, that was the one. Oh yeah.
But really, he's saying shorty.
Yeah.
We digress.
Anyway,
we digress. And yeah, once again, we're obviously it's hot in London, guys. So just know that here. we feel you with this heat thing because this is a myth. Like this heat, obviously, if you hear the fan in the background, bruh, if you hear the fan in the background, just roll with it.
Just ignore it. We
can't come and sweat like this. Like the sweat is profuse when we're recording. Profuse. So, but yeah. Again though, thank you so much for tuning in again. And today we have another topic which is really serious. And basically we want to talk about sexual assault, sexual misconduct, and this is based off a TV show by the amazing Michaela Cole called I May Destroy You, which came out recently. So yeah, do you want to talk about the show a bit, Afia?
Yeah, so the show is actually based on Michaela's own experience that she actually said that she went through. I think it was like during or before filming Chewing Gum. So she'd been through this experience, and it had taken her a good few years to actually write it, and she'd gone through like so many different things, like business things and whatever. But yeah, so basically the show is about her sexual assault. She's a character called Arabella. She's like really confident. She's a writer. She's got everything going for her, like, you know, and as a black woman,
cool, by the way.
Yeah.
Cool.
And like
her outfits are flea.
Yeah. And like as a black woman in London as well, like that's just big things, and like she's got a lot of like black female followers that are like, you're so good, and like she's just living life. So like one night she meets up with an old friend, they go out, and then she gets spiked, unfortunately. So she gets spiked, and then like that's when the assault takes place. So like she's absolutely fucked up. She can barely walk. She can't like see anything. She's just stumbling around, and like she wakes up the next morning. She's having flashbacks of this guy over her, and she's like, wait, what the fuck? And it's just coming back to her slowly, and she realizes she's being assaulted. She then takes that to the police. The police are like, okay, like thank you for the information. Like, have you got any like clothes that you're wearing? Just the usual thing. They took the evidence and stuff like that, and then they started the investigation. And the show's just then basically about her dealing with the aftermath of that, basically, and then like trying to find the guy, and like just, you know, I think she what's really good about the ending of that is like there's so many solutions of like what would be the perfect ending for her, which would be like finding the guy, doing whatever she wanted with him, and then like finding the guy, sending him to the police. Like there's just so many different outcomes, and it's just her really like dealing with that, as well as like her friends like coping with it. Her friends also go through their own experiences. Like it's a really long thing but yeah, it's basically about her assault and like how she's dealing with that.
I think we also want to talk about as well how that impacted her mentally, because I think what we end up seeing is that sort of like a self-destruction that she self-destruction path that she embarks on to kind of deal with it, and how, you know, different things like growing up in her life has all impacted this moment and sort of, you know, manifested in, I guess, how she dealt with it or didn't deal with it. And so that's also really, really important. And it also touches upon sexual misconduct and assault in like the LGBTQIA plus community. And and things like that. Go for
I
it.
would also say it also touches upon things that you don't even realise are sexual assault. I mean, we'll get into that in a minute, but there was an important part with Arabella where she was with a guy, like the sex was consensual, but what he did was not consensual.
Exactly.
And like we'll get into that, like, you know, non-consensual things that happen in sex, or like if you're even in a relationship with someone and something goes, like there's so many different types of sexual misconduct that happens to you that you don't even realise at the time, and you look back, you're like, wait a minute, so it's not
okay.
No.
Yeah, and then also I just want to say as well that she also, like, drugs play a part in it as well, because although she was spiked, she had also taken, like, I believe cocaine or something like that. So that definitely impacted, I guess, the sort of continuation of the story. To start with, let's just say that just because you're on drugs, or, you know, you are in a position, which worse for wear position, like, it's not okay. It's not okay under any circumstance.
Definitely, you shouldn't be taking
However, that did, you know, put her in a bit more of a vulnerable position, whereby maybe she wasn't able to clock on as clearly as she might have done, and clock on that guy was moving a bit mad. So yeah, anyways.
Well,
right, so yeah, go.
Yeah, no, I mean, even to like say on that as well, like even if you are like coherent and stuff like that, there's still definitely times when you don't realise these things have happened to you, that you've been spiked, because like it can easily be
100%.
a friend saying, oh yeah, I'll get you a drink, and like obviously you trust them, they go to a bar, they can easily slip in whatever in the drink, and then they come back to you and give you a drink. 100%. So yeah, there's just so many different situations.
And that's lessons for all of us, man. Like, you know, they always say when you're going out, if someone wants to offer you a drink, go to the bar with them.
Yeah.
You know, make sure that you take the drink yourself. Like, these are lessons that we all had to learn over the years, trust me. You know, make sure, like, don't accept drinks from anyone, like, that you don't know. Anyone, like, make sure if they're like, oh, I want to get you a drink, okay, cool, go to the bar with them. Or if, for example, they're getting a bottle or something like that, then watch them pour out before you pour. Watch them drink it. Listen, I'll be observing in the corner, like, I'll be lurking, because you're never gonna bamboozle me, like,
people.
Fam, like, yeah, it's really sad. But yeah, let's talk about different types of sexual misconduct, sexual assault.
I mean, we can link it like back to the show. I think like that's one of the things that the show did really well. It's because what you said before as well about them touching upon sexual assault within the gay community is what they were focusing on. So it was her friend, I actually can't remember his name. He's a gay black guy, and he was on like a website, so he was seeing a guy at the time. And he was on like a website that was kind of like Grindr essentially, just trying to find like a hookup. So they were like trying to do like a 3-way sort of situation. He was into it, and the guy that he was with wasn't really into it. He left.
He was newly like sort of coming out,
he was coming
I
to
guess.
terms with like, he was like, exactly. I'm gay, basically.
Really like lovely guy. But I think honestly, to talk about that though, we can't talk about that without talking about the psychological things that I feel like Kwame was doing madness because he was unable to come to terms with it himself. He was an openly gay guy, which was amazing. However, he was still dealing with issues like in his personal life with like his parents and things like that. So that's why he was like seeking like kind of destructive behavior, if you like, from different people. But he met a guy on Grindr.
So he met a guy on, was it actually, it was some fake version of Grindr. Well, okay, Grindr. And then the guy he was with was there, and he was sort of like watching it, and he was like, I actually feel really uncomfortable, I'm gonna leave. So he left. They stopped doing like whatever, and then like Kwame was about to leave, and the guy was like, no, where are you going? And then just like pushed him down on the bed. Trigger warning, there'll be a trigger warning in front of this, so trigger warning right now. But he pushed him on the bed, and then like he didn't insert anything, but he basically grinded on him, which is still sexual assault because he didn't consent to that, and it was just
I think he did insert.
I don't think he did. I think it was just grinding, because I remember when Kwame asked the police, he was like, is grinding
humping,
dry humping.
Right,
so I don't think he put anything regardless.
But he actually did pull, I believe he pulled his pants
down. He did.
Trousers down though, and so he was fully dressed at the time. And that's something we want to talk about, because let's be clear, guys, like and again, you know, obviously we do appreciate this is a sensitive topic, but if we do educate ourselves and understand what is okay and what is not, then, you know, we can all help one another, you know, moving forwards, because it's not okay under any circumstances. But what was interesting is that they had just, engaged in consensual activity.
This is the thing.
And this is the thing. And so this is where you need to be clear about what's going on, because just because he engaged in physical and sexual activity beforehand doesn't mean it's okay now, because this time he said no.
Exactly.
Yeah, and he actually injured him. Like, he was trying to leave, and the guy slammed his finger and hurt his finger, and then pushed him on the bed or whatever, and then continued to do what he was doing. So that is not okay. Don't think just because you've done it once, fine, that they can just take advantage and do it as and when they want to.
Exactly. No, and it's also okay for you to change your mind, even if you say you met up in a bar and you're like, right, let's go home, let's just do a thing. So you leave and you're all ready to go for it, and then halfway through you're kind of like, oh, actually I'm not really up for this at all. That's okay as well. And as both people, it's okay for you yourself to say, I'm not comfortable with doing this anymore. And it's also okay for you to accept, no, it's not even okay, it's just what you should do is accept that someone is not comfortable with the situation anymore, and to not take it personally, because that's what people do. I feel like with a lot of guys as well, it's a prideful thing. It's like, well, what do you mean you don't want to do it anymore? And then they think that they could persuade you and be like, yeah, but you just said that you wanted to do it now, so I'm like, why don't you want to do it now? And then you feel like you're put in a situation, and it just becomes a whole big thing, and then you maybe end up doing it, and that is still assault essentially, because it's not really what you wanted to do. So I think we have to be careful in understanding what our limits are. And
let's be clear as well, women can sexual assault as well.
Oh yeah, definitely.
We're not trying to say that it's only men, so just bear that in mind.
Well, I mean, this is the thing though, with I think that's why it was important. That's what I was trying to say with the I May Destroy You scene with Kwame, is that it does happen to men as well, and also within other communities, not only straight people. It happens to, it does happen in it has happened in gay communities or whatever other communities, and it also happens to people who are in relationships. So people think it can only happen when it's a random person that you don't know. 9 times out of 10 people are raped by people that they do actually know.
Is that the statistic?
That is a statistic. Yeah, that is real. People that you know. I'm not sure exactly the amount, but yeah, 9 times out of 10. Well, not literally to that number, but majority of the times it's people that you do know.
So often they don't stem from things like one night stands. I'm gonna just want to dial back a bit, because we want to just talk about a few different types. So you've got attempted rape, you have rape itself, attempted rape, fondling or unwanted sexual touching, forcing a victim to perform sexual acts such as oral sex or penetrating the proprietor's body, penetration of the victim's body, also known as rape. So I said that at the beginning. So those are just a few examples, and these are all counted. So let's be clear, if someone's telling you, touch their wherever, that is sexual assault, and that is not okay. You should only do things if and when you want to, and when you want
definitely.
to only.
And there was a time, so there's a personal experience. I mean, I'm not traumatized by anything, but I only realized that it was actually a form of sexual assault now that I look at it. But at the time I was just very briefly seeing this guy, and he was like, oh, it's gonna get explicit, guys, so just cover your ears. Anyway, so he was like, oh, just give me a hand job or whatever, and I was like, oh, I didn't really want to do that. And he was like, oh, but come on, oh, I'm really HARD. I don't want to say it because it's so cringy.
Yeah,
he was like, oh, I'm really hard, and I was like,
just say I'm ready.
I don't really want to. And then he was like, oh, but please. I was like, okay, fine. So I did it. And then it was just really disgusting, and I felt really gross about it at the time, but I was like, I kind of got over it. I was like, whatever. But then learning more about, because obviously the Me Too movement came out, and so many things came out, what is sexual misconduct or whatever, and then I was reading up about it, and I was like, oh wait, that's actually happened to me before, and I didn't realize that at the time. But yeah, that situation, and
coercion and persuasion,
exactly.
And it wasn't.
I said no, exactly. I was like, no, I don't want to do it. So,
and once you say no once, saying no
it.
Once is enough.
Exactly.
It's enough. You don't have to say no more than once, and at which point, whoever it is should chill the fuck out and realize that you're not in the mood already, or feel comfortable, whatever the case is, doing it. You also don't have to give any reasons.
Exactly.
If I don't want to do something, I just don't want to do something. I don't have to tell you why. I don't have to be tired. I don't have to be on my period. I don't have to anything. I should just be able to say I don't want to do it, and that's that.
Take no for an answer, man. That's it.
Exactly. We don't need to be giving excuses anymore, because there's no excuse. Sometimes you just don't want to fucking do it, and that's your business.
Definitely.
So just bear that in mind. But I think and actually something you touched upon before, which I think is really important regarding that to that TV show specifically, is what the guy did. I can't think his name. I can't remember his name. Some Asian guy. I cannot remember his name though.
The one who was meant to be helping her with her writing.
It might have been Raj.
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
But yeah, so he basically was helping her with her writing. She was, I guess, had like writer's block or just needed help in like trying to, you know, convey the message that she wanted to write about in the book.
Yeah.
And actually, interestingly enough, he came back in the end and actually helped her again. But yeah, so they started doing a thing, and you know, they were getting active, they were in bed, they were, you know, starting to have sex, and he, I guess, wasn't feeling it great, so he basically took the condom off without her knowing. And like that's crazy to me. Like,
guys,
honestly, when I watched that,
that's rape.
When I watched that, I was like, are you actually, am I a dickhead? Like,
it upset me so much.
That is crazy. I've just never heard of something like that. I'm not gonna lie to you, that is the first time. No, that is honestly the first time I've ever seen that one on TV, or even heard you know, through friends or whomever. Like, I've never actually heard that happen.
I've heard that.
I really
this
haven't.
is the thing, I've heard that, but I didn't know that it was considered rape until, like I said, when I was reading up about Me Too. Because obviously if the person doesn't know that you're doing that, and like, you know, they've seen you put on the condom and then all of a sudden you're taking off, like that's rape. Like,
just because it feels better, rape. Like, no, don't take the piss.
No.
And then, so in that particular situation, like, you know, they finish doing what they're doing, and then he goes to the toilet to do whatever, comes back, and then he said, I think she said, or he said, like, you know, where should I put the condom? And then he was like, oh yeah, by the way, it's on the floor. And she was like, what do you mean?
So what?
It's on the floor. And he was like, yeah, I took it off, like, because like I wasn't feeling it or whatever. And she was just like, what, you didn't tell me? And then he was like, oh, I thought you knew. Like, yeah, that's nothing. This manipulation shit. We need to stop it.
Yeah.
We need to actually stop it.
But this is the thing, at the time, the character Arabella, she didn't know that it was sexual assault. She was like, oh, okay, like, I've just got to get the morning after pill. Fine. She was kind of cool with it.
I mean, she wasn't cool with it, but she didn't think it was sexual assault. She wasn't cool with it because obviously that's a fucked up situation. Being there, I don't want to get pregnant. Like, I don't really know you like that.
Yeah, exactly.
But obviously we do have the morning after pill, so she was calm, and you know, she made a joke like, okay, you can buy it, kind of thing. Yeah, and that was calm. So yeah, only later on did she realise it was actually sexual assault. Because obviously she was, you know, having sex under false pretenses, and that is sexual assault. Yeah, you know, but it was crazy, and it got me so pissed off, because it was like, she's literally just been through this fucking horrible situation, and it's happened to her again, and she's not even realizing it, and it just made me so mad. And like, I'm surprised that you haven't heard. I've heard about that sort of stuff happening a lot, and it's just so crazy to me that people do that. And this is from people in relationships. Like, this is just, it's disgusting. Like, guys. And so what do you do though? Like, so if you're in a, like, what do you do if you're in a relationship? For let's paint a scenario.
What do you do? I don't know. I mean, I've not been in that position. But
well, that's the thing, and neither have I. And you know, I don't, to my knowledge, I don't believe that anything has happened to me. But you know, to my knowledge right now, I don't believe. But yeah, I don't know, like, what do you do? Like, if you're in a relationship,
lose my shit. I would fucking lose my shit.
Well, exactly. And I think also, let's be clear that TV show was a huge eye-opener for a lot of people.
Definitely.
Because I'm sure that happens all the time, to be honest, in relationships. Like I said, I haven't heard about that, but I'm sure it happens all the time.
Definitely.
And like, as you said yourself, like, you didn't realise that was actually, you know, sexual assault.
Right.
So it's very, very informative, and you know, we definitely recommend that you watch the show. Really, really good. I thought, you know, Michaela Cole's a great storyteller.
Incredible.
And you know, I really hope that this is also therapy for her, in order to help her, you know, get through the situation. Well, situations that happened to her more than once in the show. So,
just to end on like the end of the series. So I said this in the beginning, like, so that the last episode, like, spoiler alert, but the last episode, she plays through like these 3 or 4 different scenarios. There's so many different scenarios about how she wants it to end, because basically what happens is they've closed the case. She's kind of, they're like, like, there's not really much we can do more about it now. It's like, it's been like a year, and she's like, fuck.
And she's been staking out the bar as well. Like,
so she's gone back to the bar where it happened. So she's been
every day she goes there to have drinks, to like wait for him to come back. So in her head, she's like, does this one plan that's like, right, we've just found him. Then she goes into this new disguise, like drugs him, beats him up, and she comes up with all these like different scenarios, like, what can I do if I actually see him? Like, and then it just ends up being like, no, I've just got to like try and move on, and like try and make better for myself, like, because she's finally now written her book, because her book narrative just changed about her assault, because she was writing a book during this time, and it threw her off, obviously. So she was struggling to write a book, but yeah, she came to the conclusion that I've just got to move on, not move on, but like, you know, build from this situation, and like
just try and see what I can take from what's happened to me, sort of thing. So yeah, I thought that was a very powerful last episode. I really enjoyed it.
Definitely. And it's all about as well getting therapy. So if, for people that, I mean, we'll talk about more about what you should do actually in a second, but definitely think like you do need to talk to someone. Therapy is, and we spoke about that in our last episode, is probably the most important thing, as well as other
but
things.
But
we'll talk about that.
Saying that though, like personally, obviously I haven't been sexually assaulted, but I mean, like, for everyone, that isn't always the solution. Therapy isn't necessarily always the solution. I guess, well, we'll get into that later, but I think there are like different ways that people would do like deal with it that isn't necessarily therapy based. So it's not always the end solution. I thought that's just what I think.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, just to sort of move on a bit, and like I said, we will talk about things to, like, steps to take next. Actually, maybe we should talk about that now. Let's talk about in the mainstream media actually. Yeah. So we have a lot of, obviously, Afia's already mentioned the Me Too movement. Do you want to just talk a bit about that? Like, what is the Me Too movement and how it came about?
The Me Too movement, the catalyst was obviously Harvey Weinstein, and this, I can't remember the year, so it must have been like 2016 or something, 2016, 2017. So obviously it came out that like a lot of women in Hollywood, so a lot of actresses, so like namely Rose McGowan, was like one of the biggest whistleblowers that come out and said that Harvey Weinstein sexually assaulted me. Like a lot of other women then came out saying that he's raped me, he's done this, he's done that, and then from then like loads of people were coming out about different people in the industry. This began the Me Too movement, and the Me Too movement actually started from a black woman, and it's really annoying because I can't remember her name.
Tarana Burke. Yes. So actually I just wanted to interject there.
Yeah. So
actually Tarana Burke came up with the Me Too in 2006.
It was 2006. Wow.
Yeah, to empower women through empathy, especially young and vulnerable women. Wow. But however, it came again back into the mainstream media in 2017 with actually Alyssa Milano. So her charm
co-star,
sister, co-star. So Alyssa Milano, who said, we should be using this phrase more often, and that's how this hashtag started.
Yeah, because it was on Twitter.
Exactly. And then obviously lots of people started coming forward, and sort of Harvey Weinstein was one of the first people that was like sort of publicly reprimanded, and now obviously through the courts is going through
jail. Get him out.
Mate, he looks like a
coming on his Zimmer frame, trying to get some sympathy card. No, fuck off.
So with him, so those who don't know, Harvey Weinstein is like a huge Hollywood producer.
Big boy producer.
Biggest
some of my favourite films, Pulp Fiction, like obviously.
Fam, I'm actually looking at the poster in my room right now,
and his name, I've covered his name. I have the poster and I covered his name straight away because I was like, oh, his name won't be on there.
I need to colour it in black or something.
Disgusting. Yeah,
black I actually need to, but I do like the poster. So some of your biggest movies, and he basically was taking the fucking piss, and he was married, but he was taking the fucking piss. He was literally telling people, you can't be in a film until you perform a sexual act on me.
Or like new actresses, like I'm a really big name. If I say that you're not good in the work, no one's going to want to work with you. You're going to be finished in Hollywood. Blackmailing
actresses and actors. Like it's just absolutely crazy. Like some of the things that he did were just absolutely disgusting, and a lot of women came forward, and a lot of famous women came forward, like a lot, and it's really sad. So as you mentioned already, Rose McGowan was one of the
Rose McGowan was like a big name, and she was doing like seminars and shit about it, loads of people coming forward. So with that said, then other women were coming out about different celebrities, and like not even just women, men as well. A lot of men were coming out about Kevin Spacey. So there was an incident.
Kevin Spacey is a big one. Yeah,
big one. And there was that incident. Is it the Old Vic that they call it? Was it that theatre?
Conservatoire.
Was it? No. It's a venue. I think it's called the Old Vic. I don't know, but maybe, probably. There was a guy who was working there, and he said during his time there, Kevin Spacey was doing a play there, and then that's when the sexual assault took place, and he was underage as well. Kevin. A lot of accusations have come about Kevin Spacey. Obviously Bill Cosby, who are R. Kelly. Like a lot of people have come out.
I mean, R. Kelly. Yeah, and that's the thing with R. Kelly. I mean, it's
R. Kelly's one is just
for time,
like it has
for time, and only recently, like I'm not even really sure what maybe the Me Too movement.
I think it definitely helps,
to people, because like we knew about. That's the thing, like people were complicit with R. Kelly for time. like for time with Aaliyah.
If he's marrying a 15-year-old girl, a 15-year-old Aaliyah, like, please.
Then there was the whole, you know, sex tape where he was like peeing on like a 13-year-old girl. Like that was like public knowledge. Like,
but it was made into a joke though. No one was taking that shit seriously.
That's the thing. People used to bust joke about it, and it's not fucking funny.
No,
like, it's not.
Like,
that girl is probably scarred for the rest of her life, mentally, for sure.
Awful.
You know, and it's horrible. So, you know, I'm definitely really grateful for that becoming, you know, so important and such a big thing in the news and the activism around the world. However, you know, and I think it's important that they're taking these people to court, you know, making sure that they're going away for a long time or, you know, dealt with by the law. Obviously we can't trust the law. No, not so. As we all know.
I would say like one sad thing and one thing that we have to remember, which is just so unfortunate as well, is like if you're not like a rich, especially like rich white female celebrity, in a case like this, it's not your case won't necessarily be taken to court, and the person who's done this to you won't necessarily be persecuted. And that's one thing that we have to change about rape culture, because that is what it's called, rape culture. Is like women, maybe yes, they've been believed, they've like done investigations or whatever, but maybe there's not enough evidence and that person doesn't get persecuted, and then they end up going out and doing it again to someone else. And this is what happens a lot of the time, is that these men just get away with it, or women get away with it. And it's like really sad. So like definitely I think this situation is helping like victims, well not survivors, get their power and
and
like
get their power
people
as
get
well.
their justice, like.
For sure. And actually this might be a good way to lead to, you know, what to do in these types of situations. So with that, you know, unfortunately a lot of these things are coming back from the past, and you know, thankfully, you know, they've been able to convict a lot of people for the things they're doing. You know, I'm really sad to say Michael Cosby was like giving women Bill Cosby was giving women like quaaludes. Like that's ridiculous. Like,
but you know what, saying that though,
ridiculous.
Like Michael Jackson, now you said Michael, that was disgusting that he was doing that. That is ridiculous.
I mean, I only know that shit from like the Wolf of Wall Street. Like I'd never heard of quaaludes before. You know, and it's crazy. What are you gonna say about Michael Jackson? I was gonna say Michael Jackson,
because he said Michael, I'm thinking about Michael Jackson. That was a whole other conversation in itself. But yeah, obviously like that has come up. That's like come up again because the two boys. Was it Wade? Yeah, was it Wade Robson? This is Wade or something. Neverland.
He was a dancer, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he was like Britney Spears' choreographer. So that's obviously come up again. That one's that's the crazy.
But anyways, in terms of what to do, you know, it is important now that, you know, if things do happen like that to you, definitely go to the police, tell someone. If you are underage, please talk to your parent. I know it can be hard, and we're going to talk specifically about the Black community. Listen, girls, we understand, and girls and guys, we understand. It is so difficult to talk to your parents. It really is, because you'll just get, oh no, that didn't happen. And a lot of times it's just denial. It's actually denial. Like they don't want to comprehend that something like this might have happened. So just like, no, it didn't happen. And often you might feel like you're being shut down, or, you know, you're being shut off, and they're kind of dismissing what you're telling them. Like they're just completely dismissing information. Please persevere. We know it is so hard, and it is so hard to deal with, especially when that happens to you. But definitely, if you're underage, talk to your parents and go to the police, report it, make sure you get tested, because it's that test that they can do within a certain amount of time that can actually help convict whoever, especially if you know who attacked you. You know, that unfortunately with things like that, the evidence as days go by, the genetic evidence or the samples,
I think it's like 72 hours or something like that.
Exactly, like it starts to fade, and then they can't even get samples and you know, match blood and whatnot, and semen and all that good stuff. So
I would also say as well, like with that as well, so like other than talking to your parents, I would definitely say like talking to a friend as well, because a lot of the times it's like validation that you need, as well as obviously like just, you know, police stuff, but it's just like your friends believing what you're saying, because a lot of the times like you haven't believed what's happened, and then obviously maybe you even know the person, like that didn't happen, like it wasn't rape, you wanted to do it, that sort of thing. And then to speak to someone external to actually validate your feelings is also something that I think is probably quite helpful. So yeah, just that as well, I would say. Someone that you really
definitely
trust.
I think definitely if you have someone that you really trust, for sure, someone that you can count on, you know, because you're gonna need support, you know. and to be honest with you, these are things that are not supposed to happen, so we don't know how to deal with them.
Right.
So, you know, definitely, reach out to people, or not people, you know, sort someone that you really can trust. But I do think if you are underage, that, you know, it is ideal to try and get to go to a parent, you know, or guardian or whatever, an auntie or uncle, you know, that you can trust maybe, and then go to the police. You know, definitely report it, because often, and pretty much, you know, there's a really high percentage that you know, rapists tend to be repeat offenders. So there's a chance that if you report it, and if we all start reporting these things, that then they'll start to build up a database of people who continue to offend, and we can actually take, like, you know, make sure that they go away for a long time, and that they can't continue to hurt people. So that is why it's really important, and just know that, you know, you're not by yourself with that as well. So
definitely, and to realize, like, the great and, like, powerful, courageous thing that you've done is to actually go and have done that, because, like, just to even, like, mentally deal with that happening to you, and then on top of that having to relive the trauma and then go and tell your story to the police, like, that's a lot. So I feel like anyone who has ever had to do that, like, be proud of yourself, and, like, we're proud of you that you've actually gone and done that, because you're helping, like, not only yourself but other people. And even if you haven't done that, that's still okay as well. Like, it's not your trauma to deal with, but it's you deal with it in whichever way you feel is best for you. So if you haven't done it, that's okay too. So just to remember that as well. And I think like just to, like, lead on from what you were saying about people who are underage, another thing as well is an important thing to speak about is statutory rape. So statutory rape is, like, when an underage child is consensual. I mean, like, obviously kids cannot be consensual with an adult, but yeah, they're consenting to a sexual relationship with an adult. So someone who's overage, so, like, they're in their 20s and you're, like, fucking 14 or some shit. So that is rape. A lot of people are like, well, you know, like, they want to do it, they want to be in the relationship, you know, they're, like, going ahead with it. No, like, if a child is underage, they cannot consent to sex with an adult. That is not correct. And, like, I just remember the situations of, like, being in school, and they were like 14, 15-year-old girls like, yeah, I've got a boyfriend and he's 21. Exactly. And we're like, what? Exactly. and they're like, we're like, what? And they're like, yeah, I love older boys, and, like, that's just a normal thing. And at the time, like, you used to think that, you're like, oh my god, that's so cool, I want an older boyfriend.
That's so cool, right? It's crazy how we normalize shit.
And it's like, it's so crazy how we normalize shit, man. Cool. It's disgusting. And, like, this is the thing, like, when you're, like, really vulnerable and impressionable at, like, 14, 15 years old, any boy who's going to come to you and say, you're so beautiful, you're so this, they know what they're doing, especially if they're, like, well into their 20s. Like, they know what they're doing. They can manipulate you, getting into situations where you're, like, doing things that you wouldn't necessarily do. So yeah, I think, like, that's important to remember as well.
But what is illegal? Is it 16 or is it 18?
It's 16 in the UK. It's 16.
Okay, cool.
Which I think is too young.
It is. But what happens if you have someone who's 15 and someone who is 19?
I think that's...
What do you think about that?
No. If you're nearing 20...
What about 15 and 17?
I think that's better, but, like...
But I'm trying to understand, is that okay or not? I guess,
I mean,
if you're 17,
like,
you're not an adult, so
like,
you're not an adult, I guess.
I mean,
if you're 17, you're not an adult.
It's 2 years,
so,
and you're still, like, in education, technically. Well, yeah, you should be in education. You have to go to...
Well, I'm just thinking, like, you have someone who is in year 11,
right,
who hasn't turned 16 yet, so they're in year 11, but their birthday's in August,
right.
And then you have someone who is in year 12, but their birthday's in September, so therefore so the person in year 12 turned 17 on, like, the 2nd of September. The person in year 11 turned 16
they're still in school,
on the 31st of August.
Yeah.
You know, so technically there's only one school year between them, but there's technically almost 2 years between them in terms of, like, calendar years.
But I think that's different though, isn't it? So it's very different to if you're 15 and going out with a 26-year-old, then they're 15 and then going out with a 17-year-old. It's not that deep if they're 17. I mean, like, obviously the consenting age is 16. And, like, the thing is that what a lot of people are nasty about is that, like, they're, like, 31 and they're like, yeah, but the consent age is 16. Yeah, for them to have sex with another 16-year-old, not a fucking 31-year-old adult.
And that's what we need. But that's what we need to make clear. We need to give the clarity. And that's why I'm asking that question, because people need to understand, like, bruh, it's not okay. Like,
no,
it is not okay.
There's no justification.
But there's actually, what business, what business
the thing is, Charlene,
do you have with someone so young?
Exactly.
Like, you're now that's grooming.
Yeah,
you know? And
exactly.
that is a very serious offence.
Exactly.
So,
And the thing is, Charlene, like when I hang out, so like I'm a certain age, I'm above 25. That's all I'm gonna tell you.
We always say that.
I'm not giving anything away, but yeah. So like when I hang out with people who are like, let's say 20, 21, there's a big. I see the difference. I'm like, you're so young and so naive. So then I think in my head, I would never date anyone that's that young. So why would I at 35 be going out with someone who's 21? It doesn't make sense to me. There's nothing that we have in common. We're not like moving the same way out. They're trying to like get into uni. I'm trying to start a career. There's no commonality. I don't understand. I literally
I agree.
Cannot understand it.
So for me, honestly, I won't lie to you, I would just love to have a conversation with someone like that and just really try to understand.
Like, please.
No, honestly, like I really want to. And so, you know, guys, there might be something coming in the pipeline, so look out for that. But like, you know, on a real thing, like I would really like to understand. Like I've got someone close to me who's a therapist, and so I always talk to them, and I'm just like, you know, like I will, you know, from their perspective, you know, providing like the therapeutic services, like, you know, what do they get to sort of learn in their day-to-day talking with people. And I just I just would love to understand. Like I would really like to understand what is it like, how does your brain work for you to get to that place where you feel like you're finding, like, is it an ego thing? Are you trying to, I think it's that manipulation. It speaks more about but it speaks more about yourself than it is
definitely
about the person though, because, you know, I think it's very, very selfish and very, very self-serving.
And this is the thing that we have to remember, it's not in the child, because they're a child, remember, it's not the child's responsibility to tell the adult to stop chasing me at all. That's not their responsibility. So people are like, oh, but she's like leading him on, no, the girl's 14, 15 years old and he's a big 30-year-old man, or the other way around, whichever. So no, it's not correct. It's the adult's duty to be an adult and not put a child in that situation. Like, it's just not correct. I feel very passionate about that. So
no, 100% agree.
Statutory rape is not it. It's not it.
100% agree. Okay, so interesting. Just sort of, I guess, moving on from that, what do you think about, I guess, because of how popular and it's become with, you know, being outspoken about sexual assault, which I think is great. Definitely we need to shine as much a light upon that as possible. People who are doing things definitely need to be named and shamed, so we know to stay as far away from them as possible. However, unfortunately, with the good, and when I say good, I mean in terms of, you know, the transparency around it, comes the bad, which is that some people will take it upon themselves to make up false accusations. And how do you feel about that? Like, you know, what are your thoughts?
Well, I definitely think, obviously they are like the minority, of course, that happens, but then when it does happen, that's, I don't understand why people would do that when knowing, well, probably they don't even know, but like, just how traumatic it is to ever go through something like that, and that you would lie about it. But what I need people to understand,
what I need people to understand is that you're diluting the experience of people that have gone through it, and then like, how can you be okay with that? For me, I find that almost as bad as performing the sexual like offense itself, because you're now diluting the you know, all of the stories. It's now become a thing where it's like, you know, immediately people are like, it's not true, it's not true, and it's so painful to see those that are actually going through that type of thing have to deal with like the clapback of like, oh, she's lying. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's absolutely disgusting. And every time someone comes out as, you know, comes out as having lied, it just makes it so much harder for those people that are actually suffering and dealing with it.
I mean, like, the consequences are like very brutal as well. I mean, this situation with Emmett Till, I mean, like, this, obviously that situation was, I don't think it was rape, it was just that the white lady accused him of like trying to flirt with her and winked at her or some shit like that. But that typically did happen a lot back in those days as well, where women would accuse black men of like raping them and stuff like that. And obviously then, the consequences were very brutal. You're ruining someone's life, you're gonna get them killed, that sort of thing. So it just makes me think of that sort of situation when, I mean, and
we've got to talk about when they see us, you know.
And you know what, I can't bring myself to watch it. I watched the first episode, I was like, I can't do it. I cannot
neither can I. I mean, these kids were literally
kids
14 years old, falsely accused, and really that was more part of the justice system versus the victim themselves. But
she's come out and she's speaking about, oh no, it's Emmett Till's accuser still alive. She's coming out speaking about like, it wasn't true. But with those boys, it's horrible.
And it's absolutely horrible, you know, and that's what we're dealing with as black people. We know that already. We're at a severe, vast disadvantage. But, you know, with that, as I said to you, you know, when people falsely accuse, so recently there's been something in the media about Justin Bieber, and someone has accused him, and he basically banged the receipts. She said it happened on this day. There's like evidence supporting that it happened on a completely different day. It didn't happen. There's evidence supporting that he was in a completely different part of the country on that day that she said it happened. So things like that, it's really hard. And then now he's like suing her. And to be honest with you, if it is a case, I mean, it's clear, it seems anyway, I should say, that it's clear that she did not tell the truth, because he has literally produced the receipts to the public. He said he wouldn't do that usually, but he now has a wife. He has a duty to his wife to make sure that, you know, he's not being lied upon. And now he's suing her. And I actually think that if it is a case that she's lied, which it seems it is, then she should be sued, to be honest, because
that's fucked up.
It's absolutely fucked up. And that's what I'm saying. And that's another example of someone fucking up the situation for people who really have dealt with that shit. I feel so passionately about that, because people are suffering. People are actually suffering. They are suffering. And then you have the few people who want to just make a quick buck, or, you know, get that quick 30 seconds of fame, and it's just like, you know, what was the point? You've now fucked it up for so many people that are here suffering on a daily basis with like post-traumatic stress disorder, but I think mental health issues and things like that. It's horrible. I'm sorry, it's horrible.
No, it is. I definitely agree with what you're saying, but I think also, like, with that said, we also have to keep it in our heads as well that, like, we shouldn't allow that to take away the voices of the people who that has happened to.
100% agree.
Which is like really annoying, because so many people do let that dilute their thoughts. They're like, yeah, but I mean, like, what about people who've lied about it? Yes, okay, people do lie about it. I agree. But what about the however many, like, millions of cases of people it has actually happened to? So we have to, like, 100%. Not let that dilute our thought process and be like, yes, okay, 100%. Of course people do lie about it, but similarly, people, that this is actually happening to a lot of people, and it shouldn't be happening. So yeah, we have to just remember, keep that in mind.
So, and then finally, I want to ask you about another thing. What do you think about rehabilitation? Like, what are your thoughts on that? So,
what people with,
you know,
like,
obviously
rapists.
So people who have, you know, committed the crime, done the time. What are your thoughts? Do you think that it's possible for?
It just makes me angry. It just makes me angry.
But do you think it's possible for them to?
I don't know. I don't think
to be rehabilitated and come back into the community and, you know, live their life as a better human being. You know, like, do you feel like once a rapist, always a rapist? You know, what your thought? Or, you know, once a sexual predator, always a sexual predator? You know.
I would probably say once a sexual predator, always a sexual predator, and that I say that because of the people who are sexually assaulted by people, and typically those people who have done the sexual assaulting have done it more than once. So it's a case of, like, if they've been caught doing it loads of times and then they get sent to, like, therapy or something like that, can they be rehabilitated? Maybe, yes, I'm sure that does happen for people, but I do believe that, like, because you have to be a certain sort of person to ever do anything like that, you have to be you're probably a sociopath to do something like that, because, like, the way that you can manipulate and, like, create a situation to work in your favor is a whole other thing. So I feel like even if you do go to therapy, how do you know that this person's not just telling you everything that you want to hear, then they can go and do it again? I don't know, it's a sticky one. It's a really sticky one.
It is.
I believe, yes, it's possible for people to unlearn that behavior, definitely, but also I do believe that, like, repeat offenders are just that. I don't know, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that it's a real hard one, because I need to understand what kinds of programs they're putting people in. You know, as far as to my understanding, when you go to prison, you do, like, prison things. You know, I've just basically spent a lot of time watching Prison Break. Obviously,
this is the thing, though. Does prison help these people, though? It's not really.
Well, that's the thing. I know that there is some opportunity for people to do things, and some people really come out completely new people, having rehabilitated themselves. You know, done classes, courses. Some people even gain degrees in prison and things like that. But for me personally, I think if you committed like a sexual crime,
Mm-hmm.
you need to go through like some like really, really intense like mental therapy, psychotherapy situation. Like you need to, I don't know if hypnosis would work, or something like that really does change the way you think. Is that actually real though,
hypnosis? Does that work?
I don't know, but I'm just saying, like, for me, I just feel like you need to, like, there needs to be a way for us or people or, you know, the rehabilitators to really change the way you think.
Yeah.
Because I'm just not convinced personally that you've committed, you know, say for example, you know, you've committed a sexual crime 3 times, you go to prison for 3 years, you come out, what have you learned? This is the thing, right? Like, you know, I understand that prison is like an awful experience, and so that is enough for some people, you know, to, you know, put them on straight and narrow so they don't commit crimes again. Exactly. But I don't know, man. I don't know.
I mean, like, that's a whole other conversation as well, like the reform system, prison, like, because people are talking about that now, isn't it? Like, abolish the system, which I somewhat agree. I do agree with it. But that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, like, I do think, like, with some situations, like prison, like, what's the point? It's just not going to help people. Like, so if you assaulted someone, then you go to jail, I'm going to sit and think about it, and then, like, what happens? Like, it's not going to change my life, is it? It's not going to change my mind. Yeah, prison will be a bit hard, but, like, how has it really impacted me, in the sense that I'm not going to go out and do it again. So yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying. Definitely.
Yeah, I think it's just hard. But yeah, this has been an intense one.
Yeah,
this has.
I mean, like, what I would say is, like, anyone who has, like, ever been through anything like that, like, I'm proud of you, because you're still grinding, you're still, like, you know, doing your thing today, and, like, it's a really hard thing to go through, and just know that it shouldn't have happened to you. And I hope that, like, you have people who are around you, like, backing you and supporting you, and just know that, like, yeah, like, it shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, and definitely, like, you know, if you have gone through something like that, like you know, any kind of, you know, sexual misconduct, sexual assault, anything like that, then, you know, definitely there's lots of different helplines that you can call that are free. You know, Rape Crisis is one of them. There's rape and sexual assault victim helplines. Women Against Rape is a website, you know, and just Survivors Trust as well. So there's lots of different, you know, resources online that you can find to, you know, help you get through that. You know, we're definitely rooting for you.
Definitely. And also another one, it's not your fault. No matter what you were wearing, no matter how drunk you were, no matter how you were acting, and no matter if you were into it at the start, it's not your fault. So yeah, and some very important, like, things that you just mentioned just there would support that. So thanks for mentioning those.
Well, there you go. There's another one from us, from the Alté LDN Podcast. Again, thank you so much for your support, and have a good week. Try to stay cool, guys. Try to stay cool.
All right. Take care, guys.